Are they? They only hit until you cry, until you just don't argue anymore. So sang Suzanne Vega, talking about domestic violence. And I think the sentiments behind those lyrics are right, really. You should just give up. I mean, if people want to intimidate you off Twitter, let them, you know? Don't fight the trolls anymore. Just say, well, you've won. You've got me off the network. It doesn't really matter, does it? Um, you know, I say to the students of Hong Kong, give up. Don't try and fight the entire Chinese military industrial complex because you're going to lose. There's no point. Um, there was this tribe that lived in what is now Dorset, England, and when the Romans invaded in 1066, they were one of the few tribes that didn't resist. They just said, "We're not taking on the Roman Empire. Take it. It's yours. Our land is yours. Put up your Pax Romana. Yeah, okay, we'll accept it." And in fact, a lot of tribes actually did accept Pax Romana because it made more sense than to fight. You just traded with the invaders instead. And in return, they were pretty tolerant. I mean, they let you keep your religion and didn't, as long as you sort of acknowledged their gods and goddesses, they didn't really mind. And as long as you acknowledged that the emperor was a god, then nobody bothered you. You were left to live your life as you'd lived it thousands of years before the Romans turned up. Um, and I say to people, don't argue with the universe. It's obvious that we don't have a soul and there isn't a God. So let the pharmaceuticals fill you up with their drugs. It's no good arguing, really. They've won, basically. There is no existential method of improving your psychological state, unless there's nothing much wrong with you, in which case you could try using those methods. But if there's a lot wrong with you, don't argue with your brain. Your brain is screwed. It's about time just to accept that you need mind-altering drugs in order to survive. I mean, I don't know why you want to survive. I suppose you're too cowardly to die, which is kind of a natural thing. We each of us have a natural desire to live and not to die, so I suppose it's better than suicide, um, unless you're going to make a suicide pact with people that you really like, that you get on with. That's probably a different thing. But that's very rare. I mean, who do you really get on with in life so much that you'd be prepared to commit suicide with them, really? I mean, it's pretty rare kind of thing, isn't it, really? Perhaps it's just as well. Or loads and loads of people would all be committing suicide together. Um, don't argue with zero contract hours or zero hours contracts. Sorry, don't argue with the fact that you don't have a trade union anymore. Don't argue with the fact they're cutting your welfare benefits again and again. It just bend over and take it up and submit basically to a power greater than yourself, which is this world and the princes of this world and the Lord of Air. Just submit, and this is life. In the Matrix, this is the grind. Just let authority do whatever it likes to you, and let people do whatever they like to each other and whatever they like to the planet and whatever they like to animals. Don't have a moral stance anymore, because really, in the long term, it doesn't make any difference. Fighting Adolf Hitler, what was all that about, really? Half the people in the UK now would actually agree with Adolf Hitler. So why on earth was all that bloodshed Why was all that blood spilled fighting Adolf Hitler when a lot of people actually agree with him now? It doesn't make any sense. Pacifism, you see, makes a lot of sense because I've got a theory that you actually become that which you hate. You become those people that you hate. So if you fight Nazism, then eventually you'll become a Nazi yourself. You eat a pig, you become a pig. It's like you become what basically you reject in the universe, and you become what you consume as well. So reject or consume, it's the same thing. You will become that which you didn't know you hated, and you will become that which you consciously hated at the time. It makes no difference. I think nihilism is incredibly liberating as a philosophy. It leads to basically a re a kind of rethinking of your perspective on morality as well. That people would just do what they want to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. You might as well sing as they take you into the gas chambers, really, because they're going to kill you one way or the other. They're going to kill you through the air. They're going to kill you through the water, kill you through the earth, kill you with fire, with climate change. There's nothing you can do. Give up, you know. Give up, and don't argue anymore with the universe. Don't argue with authority. Don't argue with the people that are movers and shakers, because they've been doing this longer than you have, and they know the score. They know the game. They also know the risks, and they accept them. And they're rough players, whereas you're soft and squishy and vulnerable and playful and artistic and sensitive, and you might as well accept the viciousness of authority over you, and might as well accept its power over you, because then you're left to get on with your own life, unless of course it actually wants to kill you, in which case it doesn't really matter because you won't have a life anymore anyway. So if they're determined to kill you, so if China wants to take over the world economically, let them. It doesn't matter. They're building an empire. They're building an empire in Africa and pretty much everywhere. They're taking over the West slowly. It's okay. Somebody's got to take over something. And every empire has its day, and things go up and things go down, and things spiral out of control, and then they find control again and they spiral out of control. It really doesn't matter. And so I think, they only hit until you cry, until you don't argue anymore. So don't argue anymore, and perhaps they won't hit you. That's the only thing you can say. I mean, that's what I learned when I was a kid. So you just don't argue. You just keep it all to yourself. If you read the books by Jane Austen, a woman just keeps it all in herself. She doesn't argue with the men who control society. It's no point. You just end up stressing yourself out, whilst you've got better things to do in life, such as looking after house and home and looking after your career even. It's no good sort of bothering about who's got a better pay packet than you have because they're a man. It's just forget about it. It's not worth stressing about. It's not worth bothering. They're not worth it. They're not worth fighting, really. They're not worth battling against. People said, oh, what about slavery? They battled to outlaw slavery, but have they? I mean, there's slavery everywhere, really. It's just sort of slavery. There's always slavery. It just changes its name. It just changes its form. It's like energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes its form. Well, slavery cannot be destroyed. It just changes its form. It can only be created. The slavery is forming everywhere. Slavery forms, like callus. Um, it forms like skin over stretched bone, and that there's nothing to atone for. It's just like You know, if you're either the slave master or you're the slave, and this is all just a slave ship anyway, and we're all just prisoners of our own devices. And we're, you know, you can check out any time, but you can never leave. That's also true, I think, really, on many different levels. So I think, you know, why argue anymore? Just let the people that have power, and don't worry about it. Really, it doesn't. It's not worth it. Just try and get away with as much as you can, and if they don't let you get away with much, then get away with what you can get away with. Do you know what I mean? And then after that, just don't argue anymore.